Hello my friend, today I'm sharing 3 of my absolute best vocal mixing tutorials. Handpicked to help you to get vocals that sit perfectly in the mix every time. Whether you're fighting with harshness, struggling with clarity, or just can't get that pro vocal sound, these mix tricks will seriously level you up. So grab your headphones, open your DAW, and let's dive into some of the best vocal mixing tips that I've shared. Okay, so 2 things worth saying 100% before we dive into these EQ bands. And the first is vocals are 80% recording, 20% mixing. If you're having a real struggle with your mix, no amount of EQing and processing in the mix process is going to fix that vocal. So don't be afraid to redo the vocals on another day, because recording on another day can be an absolute game changer when it comes down to getting that great vocal performance. In this video, I'm going to be applying EQ to the vocals in solo, but when you're working with your vocals in your mix, it makes total sense to mix within the context of the mix rather than isolating your vocals. That way, when you're mixing within the mix, you're going to know that your changes that you make with the EQ and with your processing are affecting the vocals in a positive way within the context of the mix. First up, around 20 to 80 hertz, that's where you're going to find low end rumble. This can be caused by proximity effect, getting in too close to that microphone. Can be caused by ambient sounds. That's very common in home studios, stuff like aeroplanes and roadworks, or just stuff going on in your house, vibrations coming through your mic stand. Whatever it is, you don't want it. So you can reach for a high pass filter to filter out this frequency band. I've got this one set at a fairly gentle slope of 12 dB. I'm going to switch it on. Obviously, if you go to town and go too far, you're going to hear your vocal thinning out. It's an extreme.
I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away. No love.
But setting it around that frequency band, 20 to 80 hertz, you're going to get rid of all that unnecessary, unwanted low-end information on this vocal. Next up, we're looking at around 100 to 350 hertz, so anywhere around here on our EQ. Now, performing a boost here will bring more warmth and body to your vocal. So if you've got a vocal that's particularly thin, or perhaps a vocal that's sitting in a very sparse mix, you may perform a boost here, but most typically, especially in a busier mix, you'll find yourself performing a cut around this area just to give your vocal a little bit more clarity. Let's take a listen. So with a wider cue, I'm going to perform a boost.
And I won't be a prisoner, I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away. No love, don't come.
And if I'm making a cut, then I might be more inclined to use a less destructive, narrower cue. Let's take a listen.
And I won't be a prisoner, I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away.
So in this frequency band, 100 to 350, a booster is going to give you more body, a cut's going to give you more clarity. Next up, we're looking at around 400 to 500 hertz. This is where things can sound boxy and muddy. Very, very typical if you're recording a vocal in a boxy room, which is really likely in a home studio. I've done a big boost here just to give you an example.
And I won't be a
exactly
prisoner,
what that sounds like.
I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it.
So this is very much a case of fishing around that frequency area, 400 to 500, roughly around that area, to find out where it's at its boxiest and muddiest. Here, when you find it, you can a narrow-ish cue and drop it out. Let's take a listen.
And I won't be a prisoner, I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away.
When you are cutting out this frequency, just take care not to take things too far. If you do, things can end up sounding quite hollow. If I pull in an extreme, then you hear what I mean.
And I won't be a prisoner, I won't be a slave.
Next up, we're looking between 1 to 4K. If your vocalist sounds particularly honky and nasal, this could be where you might want to be performing a cut. I've just really pulled this frequency out to give an example of that.
And I won't be a prisoner, I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart.
Hey my friend, I know when it comes to mixing, EQs and frequency bands, there's so much to remember, so I've made for you a free vocal EQ cheat sheet guide. You can grab it right now below this video.
Now, if your vocal like this one isn't suffering from sort of too much nasally honkiness, you can actually find sometimes that a boost around this area can really help to cut your vocal through the mix and get it to cut through those guitars. Next up, we're looking around 5 to 8K. This is where you're going to find sibilance. You're going to find also presence. So depending on what your vocal is, depends on what you want to do here. If you've got a lot of sibilance, you may want to perform a cut, more likely perhaps on a female vocal or a typical female vocal. On this lowish male vocal, I want to boost some presence. So let's bring some of that in.
Won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away. No love don't come around here to stay. And I won't be a prisoner. I won't be a slave.
And on.
I worked hard.
So here we've pulled that vocal out, but also in doing that we've added some of the sibilance too, which will require a de-esser after this EQ. And if you've got a problem with your vocal and you need to cut some of that sibilance, then you're going to do the opposite.
I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away.
And generally when performing a cut, narrower cues are less destructive to the overall tone of the vocal. And finally, we're looking around 10 to 20K. We're going to bring in some of that glossy, high-end pro sheen to our vocal, dialing in and boosting a shelf. Let's take a listen.
And I won't be a prisoner. I won't be a slave. I worked hard for this heart, so I won't give it away.
So here's where we started.
And I won't be a prisoner.
And here's what we've ended up with.
And I won't be a prisoner.
So there's 6 frequency bands that you can apply as a guide when you start mixing your vocals. So first off, here's our vocal in the mix.
Oh, just pretending there's no cost to you.
And isolated.
Frozen emotion, we climb aboard.
So it all sounds pretty good, but I want to warm up this vocal a little bit more and give it a little bit more sort of gritty body to it. So a saturation plugin is going to be a great choice, but I don't necessarily want to put the saturation plugin straight into my effects chain because that's going to saturate the whole vocal. And that can quite easily lead to me mudding it up in the mix. So what I'm going to do is create a separate bus, and I'm going to call that Vox Saturation. Then, of course, I'm creating a send from my lead Vox, and I'm sending it over to my Vox Saturation bus. And in that bus, I'm dropping a saturation plugin. Now, you can drop in any saturation plugin you like, anything that's in your stock plugins, any one-knob saturation, anything at all. I'm using Decapitator from Sound Toys, but you can use absolutely any saturation plugin that you like the sound of. Actually, Decapitator's pretty well equipped. You could get away with putting this plugin and sculpting it with the filters and the tone actually on the effects chain, but I much prefer this method because it gives you more control. Now I'm going to presume with your saturation plugin that you have less controls than this one, so I'm not going to be reaching for the high pass and low pass filters. I'm literally just pushing the drive. If I just bring this bus all the way up, you can hear what this sounds like.
Oh, just pretending it's no cost to you.
So I'm pushing it pretty hard. Here's the next thing with this neat trick is I'm going to sculpt it with some EQ. Now if you're looking to add warmth, you're looking somewhere around 300 Hertz up to around 2K. Let me show you what that sounds like. I'm just going to take this fader down a little bit.
Frozen emotion, we climb aboard the ship of fools. Oh, just pretend.
Really adding some body around this area, so I'm going to go for a boost around 450 Hertz. Now if you wanted to add more presence and clarity, then you're looking more like 5, 6, 7, 8K. Do a boost there for some gritty presence. I'm also going to bring in a low pass and a high pass filter. If you want some more info specifically about vocal EQs, I've got a vocal EQ cheat sheet which you can grab for free. You'll find that just below this video. So let's take a listen to what these EQ moves have done to our Vox saturation.
Oh, just pretending it's no cost to you. Frozen emotion.
So we've definitely thickened up that vocal quite a lot. Now what we're going to do is blend this back into our main vocal.
Now, a little goes a long, long way. I'm just going to do this with the vocal in isolation, first of all, so you can hear what's going on.
Oh, just pretending it's no cost to you.
So just a little bit on this fader. Let me just mute it.
Oh, just pretending it's no cost to you.
And I'm getting all of that warmth from the saturation without overcooking it and it becoming muddy, and we can control that very easily with this fader. If I keep pushing things,
frozen emotion we climb.
take a listen within the mix.
Oh, just pretending it's no cost to you. Frozen emotion we climb aboard the ship of.
So that's really quite a straightforward but very effective way of controlling bringing in warmth or presence, grit into your vocal without bringing along unwanted muddiness and harshness. Okay, so first off, forgive me if this sounds obvious, but this one is crucial and I know it gets overlooked way too much, and that's record your vocals well. That doesn't mean to say that you've got to drop a load of money on a microphone or drop a load of money on buying yourself a mic booth or even go and work in a pro studio to get that pro vocal result. It simply means take your time with the timing of the vocal, with the tuning of the vocal, and that the singer, or if that's you, is getting the message of the song across with the right amount of emotion. You want to check that when you play that vocal in the room with somebody else that you're not cringing or trying to cough over a bit, which you're not too happy with. If it doesn't sound great to you, then re-record it. Simply walk away, do it another day. I've done that so many times in sessions. You'd be surprised how much better a vocal can be on just simply another day. It's audio, it doesn't all make sense, it's music. Sometimes you record your vocal and it just doesn't feel right. The next day you come in and it feels absolutely fantastic. So don't be afraid to go and do that on a different day. It's always great to have your best mic set up at the point of writing a song too. That so often is the point where I capture the best vocal, when a song is super fresh in your mind, where the energy is fresh and you're feeling the song. You'd be surprised how many pro recordings have ended up going back and using that first recording because that's when it captured the feel. Whilst you're there, don't just take one take, but maybe 2, 3, 4 takes so you can comp in any problems at the same time, so everything's going to fit together super nice. Something that's going to massively help you when you're mixing vocals is having a vocal EQ cheat sheet to hand, just knowing those zones of the frequency spectrum what you need to dial in when you're working with your vocals. And I have a free one for you. You can grab right now, just follow the link below this video. When it comes to vocal compression, you can learn so much from engineers from yesteryear, and there's 2 compressors which I've spoken about in a video a few months ago, the LA2A and the 1176, that are a vocal match made in heaven. I'll leave a card above this video so you can check out that video and how I use those 2 plugins. But essentially the 1176 is a super fast compression that's going to dig in and smooth out those peaks. The LA2A works more as a vibey, characterful, colourful plugin, smoothing out the overall vocal. Those 2 compressors stacked together are seriously potent when you're mixing your vocals, and they're incredibly easy to use. So if you're relatively new to mixing vocals but you're struggling to get your compression right, there's a great starting place with those 2 compressors. That doesn't mean you have to drop a load of money. You can get those emulations for free right now from Analog Obsession. Their Fetish and their Lala are great emulations, means you don't have to drop any bucks at all to get started. When you're starting out, most home studios are going to invest in a relatively inexpensive large diaphragm condenser like this one. And if you're looking anywhere between £50 and £100 in the budget zone, you're often going to find that at the top end they get quite brittle and sizzly compared to more expensive mics. Now the problem can get worse when you're mixing because you're bringing a high shelf looking for that nice air of the vocal and you're just bringing in more of that brittle sizzliness. So here's a great solution. Reach for your low pass filter and just dial some back. Around 14K, obviously every vocal is different, but around 14K is where you're going to start to feel like you're edging some of that brittleness back. You get the double bonus with that as well, because that's going to give you more clarity and allow some of the other instruments up there and the backing vocals to shine through. Now here's another one that might sound simple, but if you're working with a lead vocal and you're used to reaching for a reverb when you're looking for that depth and space, sometimes you can find that the reverb ends up pushing that main vocal too far back, and that's when reaching for a delay can be much more advantageous. I like to use a quick slap back delay with a little bit of saturation to get that vocal sitting where I want it, but you can experiment even with multiple delays to get that vocal sitting where you want it to be, and then typically reserve your reverbs more for the backing vocal or the overall mix to give the vocals and the mix a sense of space while still keeping that main vocal up front. If you're mixing rock vocals and you're finding that it just hasn't got that energy and aggression and punch to get through the mix, then try a saturation plugin. Kit plugins do a great one for free called Barrier. Dial it on a vocal and bring it in. I think of it just like adding in aggression to a vocal. It will give that vocal plenty of rocky grit and energy. If you're mixing the vocal and you're still finding that it sounds weak in the mix, it may well be worth setting up a mic and re-recording your vocal to double it, dropping it subtly underneath in the mix to support that lead vocal, or even recording it twice, panning it around the vocal to help give that vocal some strength and width in the mix. If your vocal's really not sitting in the mix and you just can't work it out, sometimes what I'll reach for is a tape plugin. Sometimes that tapey vibe just helps that vocal just to sit just where you want it. If you found these tips helpful, I've got something even better for you. It's called Pro Mix Method, and it's my free mixing course. It's packed with real-world techniques that you can start using today, so hit the link in the description and let's get things started. Don't sleep on this one. Hit that link, enroll for free, and I'll see you inside. And if you enjoyed this content today, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're hungry for more, definitely want to check this next video out.